Okay, guys, here is step 6, the art of aligned objections and saying no. So this one can be challenging and a little bit nerve wracking because it is probably the more challenging interaction with clients. And I've found learning it myself, it took time and focus and investment in building my skill at it, and then also passing it on to my team. We built a system around role play, which I'll share with you in this, that helped to create a safe environment off the field. So when we're not with the client, to practice objections and also practice saying no, so that when it came to client interactions, we were more geared up and more in our confidence. So it's one of the most underestimated skills in sales and in leadership, I believe, and is the ability to hold your center when a client presents objections and when the right next step is actually a no. I remember we needed some work, and it was like from like the January to March quarter, the first quarter of the next year, we didn't have much work. We had, at the time, I think we had about 20 staff, and we had this opportunity to take on a job that was like a 300 grand fit out, a joinery fit out, cabinetry. And we were at the builder's place. We were about to sign off on winning this project, and my business partner and I, my brother, were really keen to land the work. And we're in the meeting room, and we're sitting there with our operations manager as well, and we're in the builder's office in their meeting room, and we're going through the quote, and we could just feel that his energy is aggressive, a bit of a dick. And I just had this sense that was like, do we really even want this work? And most of the time when you're building this skill, it's not an easy no, because you probably need the work and you're probably still in the building phase of the business. And for us, it was this process that helped us build the muscle of trust. We were in there, and I asked the builder if my brother and I, my business partner, and our operations manager could just take 5 minutes to have a chat. And he was kind of like, what do you want to chat about? And so we said, we just need to talk about a few things. So he gave us the meeting room reluctantly, because it was in his office. I sat there, I said to my brother and business partner, I said, look, are we sure we want to take this client? You can just feel that he is trying to write his own rules. He's not listening to our boundaries around deposit, payment times. The operations manager also reflected that he just wouldn't enjoy dealing with this guy. And so my brother and business partner said to me, he's like, I just feel like it would be, a bit of a nightmare to work with. And I said, why don't we just say no? And I remember we looked at each other and, fuck, we really need this work. And I said, if we trust, the universe is like a vacuum. And if we create space, we're going to have the opportunity to take on some more ideal clients. And we were nervous because cash flow was important, keeping the team working. But I was like, what's the point of working if we're unhappy and we're working for nothing? So we called the guy back in, and we were nervous about it. And we literally said to him, look, unfortunately we're not going to do the job, and we can refer you to someone who we think's more aligned. And he said, he just blew up. He's like, what the fuck are you saying? You're not going to take this work. I'm about to give you a deposit on a $300,000 job. And he just got aggressive, and we're just like, this is why we don't want to take the work. But yeah, we referred him someone we thought would be more of the right fit. We walked out and we high-fived in the parking lot. And the beautiful thing was that in the next week, we had two smaller jobs come through that filled up our January, and then those, as we got closer to the end of the year before we closed, another couple that filled up the February, and it was our ideal client profile. And the more that we said the no to those sort of jobs, the more that we created space for the right clients to come in. And we found out down the track that the actual builder went broke, and that unfortunately the cabinet maker was working for him, that ended up in some kind of court case trying to get their money back. So intuition worked really well in that situation. And for us, he didn't end up going with the people we referred, luckily. I feel is to really preserve boundaries and and it was a statement to our team that we're not just going to take any job. We're going to make sure that we're building a client book that supports them as much as it does us. So it's not an easy thing to do, but it does really help to build the ideal business that you want to operate in. So it's not a defensive sales objection handling strategy like most industries teach. This is more energetic congruence, and it's clarity of values and service through truth. So trying to find your alignment, what feels really true. We recognize that objections are invitations and not barriers. So they reveal, so the saying no is one piece, and the objection, so when a client objects to going ahead with you, we're not about pushy selling and trying to close the deal, but we want to be schooled up on understanding a client dynamic and where an objection is real, or it's just because they don't fully understand our value proposition. So our process is understanding our client's style and personality type, being aware of what their needs are, and then understanding when objections are what real objections are, what's true, and then sharing our value proposition and not pushing them in, trying to push them into the sale, but just giving them as much information that can align us together. And so how we practice this is through role play, and also our approach is quite unique. And the magnetic approach is, we call it the rare air, which is, I've mentioned in earlier sections, but it's about when we're saying no, it's about we're just trying to help them find the next step. So we'll still try to provide a referral or provide them with a way to find the next aligned step for them, but we're still going to say no because we're holding space for what we value. So in our business, saying no became our superpower. It's not a shutdown, it's not a rejection, it's a redirection towards alignment. So I explain this in the Guide to Entrepreneur. So I think so some clients may seem ideal on paper, but they're not ideal with your values or the energetic frequency you wish to build the business around. And so that's the example of that builder with the 300K job. Is there on paper, he was like a small business aligned to us in a builder style, but at the same time wasn't ideal in terms of energetic frequency. These clients can drain time, team around profitability. In fact, non-ideal clients often consume over half the operational energy while producing a fraction of the revenue. So there's the 80-20 rule. So 20% of your clients giving you 80% of your revenue. And so the other 80% of clients giving 20% of revenue are low value clients. So you want to weed them out, focus more on the 20%, and then get them referring more of them so that you're building out these higher value clients that you enjoy working with. So saying no protects your energy, your culture, and your team. It creates space for the yeses that truly grow the business and are aligned. We adopted this principle and the entire sales ecosystem transformed because of it. And that's where I was saying we went from $3,000 average job value with a 30% conversion rate to a $5,000 average job value with a 50% conversion rate in 6 months. This is the essence of the rare air, the clarity to lovingly decline when someone isn't the right fit while remaining committed to helping them find their path. So that's why you'll see this sales course that I've done isn't just about finding ideal clients. It's actually about, a big chunk of it is like knowing when someone's not an ideal client and saying no. The rare air, in essence, is the clarity to lovingly define when someone isn't the right fit while remaining committed to helping them find their path. So that's sometimes a warm referral, helpful resource, a suggestion of where they may find better aligned provider. So it's customers saying no to aggressive or misaligned customers to preserve team energy and culture. So objections as energetic invitations. So when a client raises an objection, it's rarely about price or timing. So if a client says to me, oh, look, the price is too high, it's what I try to do is understand if that is a smokescreen or if it's truly about price. So I might say in response to that, okay, thanks for that. If we could sort out the price as being the issue, would you look at going ahead with this? And so then it's actually no, it's not just price, it's also about your lead time. And if we could deal with the lead time issue, would you go ahead with us? And then it's not just about the lead time, actually it's about the design. So then you start to find out where the core issues are and you work through them. So it's about price or time. It's usually about price or timing. It's normally about safety, understanding, trust, uncertainty, decision-making dynamics. So sometimes you don't have the decision maker in the room to talk that you're talking to, and they need to talk to someone else, and that person doesn't understand our value proposition. So our sales playbook emphasizes deep listening, reading personality styles, and attuning communication to the client's profile as foundational to resolving concerns concerns authentically. Objections are resolved not by pressure, but by connection. So when you meet objections with grounded energy, you regulate the client's nervous system, you model certainty and clarity, you reduce friction in the decision-making process, and you create a container of trust, and you build a relationship instead of a transaction. So that's magnetic sales. When no is the most aligned yes. So saying no multiplies profits, increases client satisfaction, strengthens culture, and reduces burnt out. And that's because non-ideal clients refer more non-ideal clients. Ideal clients refer more ideal clients. And so a big part of the equation is that getting rid of the non-ideal clients. For us in Fox, it was the example of the rental properties where the decision maker is separated and the decision maker is just looking for the cheapest option. Whereas when we're working with a mum that it's their home and they've renovated before, they want quality and service. And on the other hand, with Chalazi and the events business, the 5-day event wasn't ideal because there was a lot of work with very few people that needed what we needed. So what we were providing. So then we found the ideal scenario where people really needed what we needed. And so you just multiply more of the ideal and say no to more of the non-ideal because they're taking up your capacity. So getting rid of the non-ideal clients is so important to clearing your space and just not even bothering and putting energy into these guys. So saying no reallocates energy towards higher value opportunities. Saying no signals to the universe what you will and won't accept. Saying no is an energetic boundary that strengthens your field. So when your team embodies this, objections are no longer uncomfortable, they're clarifying. Saying no becomes natural, honorable, and supportive. So the rare air in action. So learning to say no wasn't easy at first. Team members felt wobbly and clients felt it. But through training and role plays and clarity and ideal client personas, we built a muscle of alignment and confidence to the point now that the team feel so supported that they know that if they sense that a client's not the right fit, we will support them in saying no to that client. And so it just creates and embeds in the culture. It improves the culture, and profitability increased, stress decreased, sales conversion quality rose, referrals became more aligned, sales became more enjoyable. So the principle, a clear no creates space for the most aligned yes. So what we built that I felt was really powerful was a role play, so that when we're off the field, we're confident to take that back on when we're in an actual client pitch or conversation. And so practicing this can be a little bit nervous, but it is actually super powerful. So the purpose is to practice handling objections and staying grounded in alignment and confidently saying no when that's the right point. And that strengthens relationships. Actually, we've had clients we've said no to now in the future have come back and said, man, it was so good that you said no to us on that. We went and got a better solution. Now we want a TV unit. Could we buy that from you? And it creates trust. So actually they valued that so much that then it's created a relationship in the future. So the format of our role play practice, it takes 3 people. So you have a salesperson, a client, and an observer. And so the salesperson plays the objection handling and the saying no, and the client is playing the objection and misaligned scenario, and then the observer's watching to give energetic and practical feedback. And so normally it takes about 10 minutes per scenario, and you can rotate so each person gets a go at each role. And if you're the only person in your business, get some of your family or some friends to help you run these scenarios, especially like when I was doing Chalazi and I was trying to pitch the event, the Hope Estate, Michael Hope, like to these guys, I wanted to have run different scenarios and build my confidence before I had my 10 minutes to pitch to this person to land what could be a $500,000 gig. It's really important to practice and to utilize this, because the more you build your strength off the field, it's like professional sporting teams, they're always practicing, and they're practicing for the big game, because on the field, when it's all happening, that's when you need to be on. So set the scene, that's the first step. What's the scenario? I love it, but it's too expensive. Can you do it cheaper? So role play responding to that, we don't discount. So it's like, how do we respond to that? Look, unfortunately, we're not going to do it cheaper because we don't discount. And the reason is that we put the best quality Blum hardware in. Our tradesmen are all in-house. They're all qualified. They're all highly skilled people, and you're going to get the best possible product and quality. Make sure that who you're comparing us to, you ask them if they're qualified cabinet makers. So that's where this is your chance to practice your value proposition, understanding, okay, so if price wasn't an issue and we're able to resolve that, then would you still go with us? And then they might say, no, it's the design or something. So you can work through these objections and run the scenario. And often, so you get the client and the observer to come up with the scenario without the sales guide knowing, so that they have to actually come in blind and not know what the scenario is. And then so I've got some other scenario options here. So practice these things and get more confident, so that when you're in the selling environment, you can then be on top of it and maximize your chance to close a sale that's aligned. So run the interactions. The practice is staying grounded, listening deeply, reflecting objections clearly, hearing the client's real needs, so really picking up on that, holding energetic alignment, offering clarity and leadership, saying no if it's a wrong fit, and guiding toward a supportive next step. So using that rare air approach. So the key skills to demonstrate: ownership language, empathy and clarity, calm, grounded nervous system, ability to articulate ideal client boundaries, and providing a warm redirection or referral if needed, and maintaining alignment with brand and business. So observer will give feedback from both an energetic point of view and a practical point of view, and the client will also give feedback as well. So mastering objections and learning to say no with clarity and care is one of the most transformative skills in conscious business. When you stay grounded and aligned, it's not really selling. It's about being aware of who you and the business are, and what your frequency and what your ideal playing scenario strategy is, and then keeping aligned to that and saying no to the things and providing redirects for things that don't suit your alignment. So it becomes more of an aligned exchange and value add than a traditional selling model. So what I'd see powerful, if you take away from this, is clarity on how to handle objections and when and how to say no. And so the practice framework will help you build your skills in that, and also knowing that knowing your ideal client and knowing who the non-ideal client is such an important way to then handle objections and create space for what you value. So I hope you enjoyed it, and looking forward to sharing with you the final step in this magnetic selling course. If you've got any feedback or you want more information on the saying no strategy or the role play, put a post in the group chat, send me a direct message. Look forward to hearing from you, and share with us what you got from the unit and put any wins that you might have learned from it. Look forward to seeing you in the next step.